Hello everyone and welcome to the first part in a very special trilogy of What I Think reviews, because I have been given the very fantastic opportunity of reviewing the 2019 B&M range. Now I will be splitting this video into three parts. In today's video we're going to be looking at the triple packs, in the second video we're going to be looking at the big finish sets, and in the final part we're going to be looking at the TARDIS sets. But just before we get on to the review, I would just like to make a short statement, both for my benefit and for yours, regarding some commonly raised points which I know will come up in the comments section, and addressing them now means that I won't then have to constantly answer them again and again in the comments section. Firstly, this is not a paid advertisement. I have been given these by Character Options and their PR company for the purposes of an advanced review. Obviously I have been a bit scathing in the past of my reviews of CO's merchandise, and as I have been given these, I'm perhaps not going to critique them as harshly as I would if I'd had to pay for them. But that doesn't mean I'm here to sell you these products, and I have been asked to review these as fairly as I would with any other products. And whilst my initial impressions of these are very good, there are one or two issues which I will be raising in the course of doing these reviews. Secondly, and obviously people are going to be asking me where and how I managed to get these. As I said, they have been given to me by Character Options and their PR company for the purposes of advanced review. As such, these are not for sale, nor are they for giveaway. It is also worth noting that I have been very lucky in getting this opportunity, so I would just like to say, those of you considering contacting Character Options or their PR company just to get free or advanced stuff, please remember that it is entirely down to them to decide who they give their products to, and they have given these to me on the basis that I am actually reviewing them. Thirdly, whilst I have been given these products to review, I would just like to state that I am not formally nor professionally connected with Character Options or their PR company or any associated companies. I do not possess any inside information or knowledge of future products, and anything said in these videos are purely my own thoughts and ideas and should not be taken as any indications of the company's future business. Lastly, on a personal note, I would just like to say, please don't comment or send me messages asking me how you can get advanced products, or if I can get advanced products to send to you, or if you can have anything seen in these videos, because the answer is I'm sorry, but no. And that applies to everyone, so please don't think that you are an exception to that and ask anyway. I'm sorry if that sounds harsh, but this is a great opportunity that has been given to me by Character Options and their PR company, and I'm really not willing to do anything to jeopardize that in future. But now we've got all that out of the way, let's get on to the actual review. And today, in part one, we are going to be looking at the triple pack, which is the Sontaran set, the 7th Doctor set, and the 2 Doctors set. So we're going to start off with the 2 Doctors set. So in this we have a new variant of Perry from, obviously all of these are from the 2 Doctors. We've got a new variant of Perry. We've got a 2nd Doctor with the lighter hair, but he's also got the orange eyebrows because this is him as an androgyne. And then we've got a new classic Sontaran, or at least an old classic Sontaran body, but with some paint application differences and a brand new head sculpt of Stike. Overall, the box looks very nice. I'm very much liking this new updated redesign. It's interesting that it doesn't have any background interiors in these, because obviously the previous ones had like the clockwork design. But weirdly, I think it works quite well because it's nice that it doesn't have anything in the background. It draws the attention to the figures, and so I think it just makes these look a lot nicer on the shelves. Obviously we've got information about them on the side, and then on the back we've got just the usual pictures, the B&M style ones, that it gives you just the basic information, and that's pretty much all that's in there. So here we have the first lot of figures. They look very striking, very good. So this is actually the first time I've had a Perry figure. It's very nice. I have to say, one of the things I did raise on my Twitter was the fact that she does look a little bit, she looks a little bit orange, I think. It's easier if I hold them a bit further back. She looks a little bit orange on the promo pictures, but I have to say, in the hand, it actually does look like she's just a bit more tanned. It certainly doesn't look, like she's been going on tanning salon days with Donald Trump, shall we say. But the detailing on it is very nice. The shirt's got a lovely sort of metallic look. I know that some of the promo pictures did make her arms look very long, but again I have to say, in the hands they actually look alright. They don't look too long. The detailing is nice, and obviously you've got the nice bit of detailing on the head where she's got her headband on there. The head is articulated on a peg. Obviously we've got articulation, arms, forearms are articulated, no shoulders are just backwards and forwards. waist articulation, legs all turned, so good amount of articulation on Perry's. Again, this is the first time I've had a Perry figure, so wasn't sure of the articulation on her. Here we've got the second Doctor. Very nice, lovely detailing on the trousers. That's the first thing that really jumps out at me. Obviously he's got this slightly lighter greyed hair. Other than that, overall it is just a standard sort of second Doctor figure. Obviously he has got the orange eyebrows though, which certainly is a bit of an odd choice, but it's quite nice in a way, because I know a lot of people probably didn't get the opportunity to get the second Doctor from the 13 Doctors set with the greyer hair. So I think it's quite a nice choice, because if people decide they get this and then they want one with the greyer hair, it's not going to be difficult to repaint over the eyebrows, certainly, which makes it I think a lot easier. It's nice that it's just a paint and they haven't tried to sort of sculpt them to make them bushier with a new head sculpt, because it does mean that it creates a nice looking variant. It creates the potential for a variant that other people have missed, but it also means that it leaves potential open for customizers as well, which is very nice. And now we move on to Sontaran Set. Obviously I did a custom of him recently, but it's fantastic. A lot of people probably expect me to be a bit annoyed that I've just made a custom and then an official one comes out, but you know, an official version is always nice to see, so it's fantastic to see him. Obviously he has got his helmet as well, which does fit on. That's a little bit of a tight fit, but it does fit on, and he's got his helmet. Obviously the size between him and the second Doctor is something which I know a lot of people were a bit raised as a point, but the thing is, ultimately, you know, we wanted classic Sontarans, and we've got them, you know, and it's a bit of a, I think it's one of those things, would it have been nice for him to be in sort of a bigger scale? Yes, but ultimately it means we've got a new variant, and personally I wouldn't be that fussed about the size difference, because, you know, if you're really that concentrated on the fact that he's the wrong size, then I think you're overlooking the fact that I think you're putting too much. What's the best way of putting this? I think it's things like that. I think it's wanting that little bit too much. You know, it's like saying here's a Stike. You know, we want a Stike variant. Here is a Stike variant. It's not good enough. You know, ultimately people wanted a Stike variant. We've got a Stike variant, and it's a fantastic thing to see. The head on him is absolutely superb. It's an absolutely brilliant looking sculpt. I think it's come together so well, and it really does look like Stike. And you know, trying to sculpt this myself recently, it was so difficult to get it looking good, and you know, Character Options have really outdone themselves getting him to look like he does here. Obviously as well, he hasn't got the pads on his knees or his elbows. And now this figure is just the one that has the standard boots on it, which they've obviously painted on the bottom of the boots to make it look like the shoes. Again, you know, that does stand out, that it's, you know, that he is wearing boots that have been repainted. Obviously they did that as well with the first release of the Talon's 4th Doctor, which was a production error, but obviously, you know, they've done it on here to save costs, and I can understand why they've done it here. And it's sort of, you know, it's, when you look at it in the hand, you might sort of immediately think, oh, you know, they've just painted on the bands, which they have done. But ultimately, it would have meant having to sculpt effectively, because the shoulder joint on the classic Sontarans, you've got a bicep, you've got the standard arm joint, you've got the elbow joint, that's a little bit stiff, but you have got an elbow joint, and you've got the arm joint. So if you wanted to do an updated pad which had you know, it was out from the sculpt, they'd have to redo the forearm, the pins, and the bicep bit, and then they'd have to do the same on the legs as well. You know, it's sort of one of those things, you look at it and think it would have been nice to have seen it like that, but at the end of the day it still looks good like this. And I have to say, obviously of my custom version, I ended up just repainting the armour on the knees. And I actually think this looks better. It looks better having it just sort of painted on, because it gives it the more sort of tight fit, banded look that they actually have in the episode. I think it works very well. I know the one thing that people were hoping for this was that he comes with a gun. Unfortunately he doesn't. It is just the helmet that it comes with. But again, ultimately, you know, the fact that he hasn't got a gun, I think isn't a huge problem for most people. Again, I think if people are focusing on things like that, you're not taking into account what we've actually got. We've got a Stike figure. It's a brand new head sculpt. They could have just tried to, what they could have done is they could have just released one of the standard Sontarans with a slight repaint and said, there you go, it's Stike. But they didn't. They've actually given us a brand new head sculpt, and I think that is something which is, you know, it well deserves to be recognised. Because it's fantastic to finally see something again that we never thought we'd get to see, and personally as myself, you know, someone who's been trying to get classic Sontarans for a long time, they were so difficult to get hold of, so to see them re-released is absolutely brilliant. It's absolutely fantastic. But on that note, it's time that we get on to the Sontarans box set. So here we have the Sontaran set. So we have Field Marshal Steyr, Commander Lynx, or I could be reading these wrong way around, sorry. And then of course Harry Sullivan, brand new companion figure. Very nice box. Obviously the boxes are all relatively the same, so I won't concentrate on looking at the boxes too much. But so we've got here, it says on the back, so it says Harry Sullivan, Field Marshal Steyr, Commander Lynx. So I could be getting that wrong, but I believe that's the way round it's meant to be. But again, they look very nice. It's fantastic to see classic Sontarans back. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get into this box and see what we've got. So here we have the figures out the box. So we have Harry Sullivan, we have Field Marshal Steyr, and Commander Lynx. So Lynx comes with his helmet, which obviously does fit on. Again, the helmets, I have to say, this helmet is a little bit of a tight fit, the Sontaran helmets. But they do fit on. Actually, saying that, I'm having a bit of difficulty getting this one on. Yeah, I can't, okay, I'm having a bit of trouble getting that helmet on, but I'm guessing there's probably a reason, but that does, that is a little bit difficult to get on, so I want to, you know, I don't want to, like I said, I'm very pleased with these figures, but if I find sort of any sort of quality control issues with these sets, I will just like to raise them or point to like that. So that's a little bit of a shame, but he does come obviously with his little stick, which fits in his stun baton, whatever you want to call it, which fits in his little holster he's got. The head detail is very nice on the face, looks very good, very striking. So overall, it's just sort of your classic standard Sontaran figure. If we bring in back Stike, you can see that they actually do sort of use the same sculpt, the boot sculpt, so both of those. So that's obviously the one they've reused for him. Next up, we have Field Marshal Steyr, who again comes with his helmet. Let's see if this one fits on better. It wants to go on, but that does fit on. There is a little bit of a gap around the edges, but it does fit on. He's got the boots and he's got his little stun gun as well, which fits into his hand or gun or whatever you want to call it. Ah, well, there's an interesting thing. I didn't plan that, but that's just happened. I want to say I don't think these are unsteady on their feet. I think it might just be the way I'm positioning them, and I am filming them on a slightly slanted surface. But yes, well, that's interesting. Okay, but well, that gives you an idea of how these go together. But I've just, there you go. I've just put the helmet on there. And in trying to get the helmet off, I've actually taken his whole headpiece off. So that's not really something that I would consider a bad mark as such. But I would say that sort of does show how tightly it is trying to get these helmets onto the Sontarans. They are a tight fit. So I don't think it's a quality. Well, it is a little bit of a quality control issue, but nothing that's that really sort of breaks the figures as such. I think it is going to be something that I think, it's a shame. It's a shame it's got to be done, but I think a little bit of trimming, a little bit of sanding down around the edges, around the inside of the helmet, and they'll fit on very nicely. And then obviously the one that lots of people have been waiting for, we have Harry Sullivan, which is a brand new head sculpt, but it uses the one of the Fourth Doctor, I think, Genesis of the Daleks, Fourth Doctor sculpts, which looks absolutely fantastic. A couple of things I did notice out of the box: he does have a bit of a paint mark on the side of his head, and he also has a little bit of paint mark here on his shoes where it's overlapped. Again, not a huge issue, but I think it's the little things like that that I want to point out now, because it doesn't bother me. That little paint mark on his head will probably come off very easily. But it is sort of, I know that some people will look at these and try to pick quality control issues, saying, oh look, it's got paint marks on its head, that's ridiculous. It's not that bad, but it's, you know, it's still a point worth raising. But obviously it's a very nice looking Harry Sullivan figure. He's also got a few marks on his back, I have to say as well though, which is a bit of a shame. But as a figure, looking brilliant. It's a fantastic looking head sculpt. I know some people did question as to whether they had reused a Primeval head sculpt and sort of retooled it for Harry, but this is an entirely new head sculpt. It looks very good. The only thing I potentially would have done different on here is, rather than painting his neck bit, the actual torso of the neck, skin coloured, I perhaps would have painted it a sort of paisley red to give him the sort of look as if his ascot ties on. I know that some people have suggested sort of, you know, reusing other figures and things to do a Harry Sullivan custom. It is something that I may well do in future. Now we've got a head sculpt, probably using a Dalek Sec jacket or some other pieces, but it is nice that we finally got this Harry Sullivan figure, because there are potential uses for this head sculpt in future to do more variants of him. I know that some people did say it would have been nice to have seen Sarah Jane, a classic Sarah Jane in this set, which I think, again, I agree it would have. And it could have been done sort of using a Sarah Jane Adventures. She would have had an older face is the only problem, but using a Sarah Jane Adventures head and a Jenny, I think it's either Jenny or Claudia, one of the Primeval figures that has the white coat and the brown trousers and the red shirt, repainted into a sort of combat style, I think could have worked well. But ultimately as well, the thing is, they've given us the classic Sontarans, and they've also given us, you know, a brand new figure. So I think putting a Sarah Jane figure in this would have certainly been something that people would like to see. But I think ultimately, in terms of keeping the costs at what they were, what we've got here is fantastic, because, you know, CEO have recognised that the fans do want classic Sontarans, and so they've given us, you know, they've given us plenty of them. I think the only thing I would have personally changed in this is I would have liked to have seen Storr from the Invasion of Time rather than perhaps Lynx. But, you know, it's possible that now they've got these classic Sontarans, it's possible that in future they could do an Invasion of Time set with a new, you know, variant sort of release of a Fourth Doctor, a re-release of Leela, and then a re-release of Storr. You know, now we've got sort of sets being based on actual episodes, like the Two Doctors set, and in a way the Silver Nemesis set. I think it's very likely that we could see something like that with other classic Sontarans in future. But this is an absolutely fantastic looking set. I really do like the look of it, despite its few sort of little niggles and flaws in places. And lastly, here we have the 7th Doctor set. So we've got a So here we have the Nightmare in Silver. This isn't Nightmare in Silver, it's Silver Nemesis. I don't know why I said Nightmare in Silver, although that, I'm sure, would be a set many people would love to see. Hint, hint, character options. Anyway, this is the Silver Nemesis set. We have two Silver Nemesis Cybermen. We have a standard Cyberman, and we have the Cyber Leader, who both come with guns. I put one of them in the hand, one of them loose. The guns are very nice, very interesting looking, and of course we got a new variant of the 7th Doctor, or at least a variant with a different jacket. There's not a huge amount to say about this set, but not in a bad way, because the other sets both have something sort of brand new. You know, one of them's got a brand new Sontaran, the other one's got Harry Sullivan. This is very much a sort of straight up re-release, but as I said, that's not a bad thing, because I know that a lot of people would have wanted the Silver Nemesis Cyberman for a long time, and you know, whilst they are pretty much standard figures, they do have sort of variation in them. For example, you know, the 7th Doctor's got a much sort of different creamer jacket, and the Cybermen themselves actually do have a slightly more sort of chromed look to their heads and things like that. I know that Al Dewar said on the reveal that they didn't chrome them. They would have liked to, but they didn't, because the chrome kept flaking off. And I have to say, when I did my own versions, I found it very difficult to try and use chrome paint on them. It just really didn't seem to take to the plastic. But these do have a sort of slightly more metallic chromed look, so I don't know whether they've been given a coat of like a varnish afterwards or something like that to make them look more chrome, but it really has worked out well. Obviously the head detailing is very nice. You've got the Silver Nemesis chest piece, and then you've got on the back the tubing unit, or whatever you want to call it, on the back. Personally, if it was me, I would have perhaps given them a slightly turquoisey tint to the bodies, because depending on what scenes you're looking at in Silver Nemesis, they do sort of change colour. Their uniforms are slightly iridescent, so I would have perhaps given them a slight turquoise, but they still look very nice in their standard silver as they are, and I think they probably do appear more silver on screen than they do at other times. The 7th Doctor, there's not a huge amount again to say there. I think the only sort of major difference is the coat is a much lighter cream, and then obviously he's got the tie, the scarf I think is a slightly different pattern, and his handkerchief isn't patterned. The only thing I would have added to this set as well would have been if we could have had a serious hatted head. Obviously some of you know I have done my own versions of that, which I sell on my Etsy shop. But when you look at the other sets, I mean, in the 2 Doctor set we've had a new Sontaran variant. In the Sontaran set we've had the Harry Sullivan variant with a brand new head sculpt. So it would have been nice to have seen a new serious hatted head sculpt in this. But to be fair, you know, I don't know the cost of production, so it could just be that they had a budget for 3 sets, they decided to give us 2 new ones and some re-releases, and I'm fine with that, I really am. You know, I think it's nice that we've got these variants, and I know that quite a few people would like to have gotten their hands on a cream-coated 7th Doctor, which is nice to see this. And it also sort of, I look at it as well when we're going to look at the big finish sets in the next part of this. Obviously there's a new variant of a 7th Doctor in there, but it does sort of make me think that what they could do where they've repainted the coat is they could do a version where they repaint the trousers, give us even just a smiling hatted head, repaint the shirt, and then repaint his jumper a light blue, which it wouldn't be accurate, but that could be a way that they could give us a Virgin New Adventures 7th Doctor, which would certainly be something again which I think people would love to see. But yeah, as I said, there's not a huge amount that I can really say about this set, but for that reason I think it's quite good, because the other 2 sets, you know, I've sort of picked up on some little issues in the other 2 sets, but this one, there's nothing brand new about this set, but equally there's nothing bad about it. So I think, you know, there's not a lot to say, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. But that brings to a close part 1 of my B&M 2019 mega review set. In part 2, coming on Wednesday, we're going to be looking at the big finish packs. So, as always, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Like, favorite, subscribe, share, it really helps me out a lot. And be sure to check out the description below for a link to my Patreon. I'm doing my very first figure animation, and you can get involved. There's exclusive content and rewards for those who do so, and funding my Patreon in any way gets your name at the end of my videos. I salute you all, and I will see you with another video very soon.